Part 1. The Sacred Bond of Loyalty, Understanding the Scorpio Soul. Loyalty is a word often tossed around casually in our modern culture, reduced to digital likes, social affirmations, or fleeting gestures of support. But true loyalty, the kind that pulses through the veins of a Scorpio, is something far more ancient, sacred, and soul-shaping. To speak of Scorpio loyalty is not merely to describe a personality trait, but to uncover a cosmic phenomenon, a spiritual code deeply embedded in the energetic architecture of the universe. From the outside, Scorpio can appear intense, withdrawn, or even intimidating. But beneath that enigmatic surface lies a devotion that is unparalleled. Not performative, not convenient, not contingent, but absolute. Their loyalty does not arise from obligation. It emerges from a vow made at a soul level, one that often transcends words, time, or even logic. Why Scorpio loyalty is unlike any other. In astrology, Scorpio is a fixed water sign. Water, by nature, flows, but fixed water is the undercurrent that doesn't waver. It's the tide that shapes stone over centuries. It's not seen, but it is unbreakable. And therein lies the mystery. Scorpio's loyalty is not about showing up when it's easy or when the spotlight shines. It is forged in silence. It is tested in shadows. It is proven when the world turns away and only the brave remain. Imagine standing at the edge of your own destruction, when life is collapsing around you, and you have nothing left but raw vulnerability. It is in that moment, when others flee, that Scorpio stands still. They don't just witness your pain, they absorb it. They carry it, silently, willingly, and often, without you even knowing. This loyalty is not romanticized devotion. It is not built on conditions. It is not a trade. It is an oath. The deeper currents beneath devotion. To understand Scorpio's loyalty is to understand how they love, how they see, how they feel the world. This is a sign governed by Pluto, the planet of transformation, rebirth, and depth. Scorpio doesn't float at the surface of life. They plunge into its most hidden caverns, navigating the soul's most complex terrain. And so when they choose to commit to someone, something, or some purpose, it is never half-hearted. It is complete. It is absolute. It is eternal. It's not easy to gain a Scorpio's trust. And that's the point. Because once given, it becomes a part of them, not a transaction, but a soul bond. In this way, loyalty for Scorpio isn't about proving anything to others. It's about staying true to the essence of connection, even when everything else falls away. A personal story, the quiet anchor. Years ago, I met a woman named Celeste. She was a Scorpio, though she never spoke of astrology. Her life was a storm of challenges, a troubled family, failed friendships, and repeated betrayal. And yet, in the midst of all this, she anchored herself to the few people who mattered to her. One of them was her childhood best friend, who had fallen into addiction, burned bridges, and pushed everyone away. But Celeste remained. She never posted long quotes about friendship. She never proclaimed her loyalty. She simply showed up, to rehab check-ins, to court hearings, to birthdays and shelters. And when that friend finally recovered, do you know the first person they hugged? Not their parents, not their partner. It was Celeste, the Scorpio who never gave up, not because she had to, but because she had chosen to. That, my friends, is the kind of loyalty that does not fade, that transforms lives. Why Scorpio loyalty is misunderstood. We live in a society that craves instant results. Loyalty to many has become a temporary subscription, valid until discomfort arrives. But Scorpio doesn't subscribe to convenience. They're loyal in silence, in storms, in sacrifice. That's also why they are often misunderstood. Their devotion isn't loud. It's not social media friendly. But it's deep, spiritual, and irreversible unless betrayed. Unlike signs who forgive easily or move on quickly, Scorpio treats betrayal not as a hiccup, but as a soul rupture. Once that sacred trust is broken, they do not scream. They vanish. And the silence they leave behind is not punishment. It is the echo of everything that once was real. But we will explore betrayal in depth later. For now, understand this. To be chosen by a Scorpio is to be held in the rarest sanctuary of spiritual commitment. Spiritual dimensions of loyalty. From a Buddhist perspective, loyalty mirrors the principle of right intention, a willful alignment with truth, clarity, and deep commitment to something beyond the ego. Scorpio embodies this principle, not through words but through acts. They remain loyal not only to people, but to their own internal compass, even when it isolates them. And this is where Scorpio's loyalty becomes truly divine. Because they are not just loyal to the outer form, the relationship, the title, the the friendship, but to the soul of it. They hold on to essence even when the shape shifts. They remain connected to what's real beneath all illusion. Takeaway for viewers. As we begin this journey into Scorpio's loyalty, ask yourself, what does loyalty mean to you? Is it presence during peace or courage during chaos? Are you the one who leaves when the fire gets too hot, or the one who walks through it, holding another's hand? Because if you want to understand a Scorpio, you must be willing to stand with them in the fire, in the silence, in the truth. And when you do, you will never walk alone again. Part 2. The Soul Contract. Why Scorpio's loyalty is a spiritual covenant, not an emotional habit. Scorpio loyalty cannot be understood through the lens of casual affection or behavioral conditioning. It is not just an emotional reflex, it is a spiritual vow. A Scorpio's loyalty is not given. It is awakened, remembered, and forged in the hidden sanctum of the soul. This is not poetry. It is architecture, spiritual, energetic, ancestral. To understand a Scorpio's commitment is to step into the domain of soul contracts, karmic entanglements, and ancient memory. Loyalty for Scorpio is not an act they perform. It is a spiritual frequency they live by. Beyond choice, the energy of recognition. When a Scorpio forms a deep bond, something subtle but undeniable occurs. They do not merely decide to be loyal, they recognize something. A familiar vibration. A truth they already knew before this lifetime. A whisper from the soul saying, I've been here before, and I will not leave. This is why loyalty for Scorpio is often instantaneous but not impulsive. It's as if their soul picks up where it left off in another timeline. They are not pledging to you as a person only, they are aligning with your energetic truth. The person you were before the wounds. The person you might yet become. This is the covenant. Scorpio does not just commit to who you are now. They commit to the sacred story still unfolding inside you. Karma, dharma, and the invisible thread. In Vedic and Buddhist philosophies, we speak of karma, the consequences of past actions, and dharma, the path of right living, the soul's mission. Scorpio embodies both forces in their loyalty. Their loyalty is karmic, in that they are often drawn to protect, support, or even challenge someone because of ancient ties. But it is also dharmic, because they recognize that standing by someone's soul journey is not just emotional, it is sacred work. It is the labor of the awakened heart. Scorpio holds space for the soul of another to rise, even when the person themselves cannot yet see their own potential. Their loyalty is not blind. It is prophetic. They remain not because you are perfect, but because they have seen the future blueprint of your becoming, and they are willing to walk with you through the fire until that vision is born. Personal reflection. The time I met a Scorpio who changed my life. A few years ago, I was lost, not in the dramatic, movie-style way, but in the quieter, more dangerous sense. I had stopped believing in my own voice. I was shrinking, settling, suffocating. Then I met Jonah. He was a Scorpio, quiet, intense, observant. He never gave advice I didn't ask for, but he listened like it mattered. When I shared doubts, he didn't sugarcoat or console. He simply said, "That's not who you are." And he meant it. He never let me forget who I could be, even when I forgot. That kind of loyalty wasn't loud, but it was seismic. It realigned me with my truth. Scorpio loyalty is like that. Not loud, not pushy, not sweet, but absolutely unmovable in its faith in your soul, even when the world has written you off. The spiritual consequences of betrayal. Because Scorpio loyalty is rooted in the soul, betrayal is not just a personal wound, it's a spiritual rupture. It severs a sacred thread. Scorpio doesn't simply feel hurt. They feel displaced. As if the cosmic balance they honored was mocked, shattered. That's why their response is often silence, disappearance, or complete energetic withdrawal, not revenge. They're not retaliating. They're reclaiming their sacred energy. You cannot apologize your way back into a Scorpio's trust. You must resurrect your soul's truth, prove through transformation, not words, that the contract can be rewritten. And even then, it may never be the same. Loyalty as a devotional practice. In Buddhism, one of the highest forms of devotion is presence, to be fully with what is, without resistance or illusion. Scorpio lives this through loyalty. They don't run from your shadows. They don't fear your mess. They stay present. That is their loyalty, not obligation, not perfectionism, but unwavering presence with the full truth of your soul. Scorpio loyalty is not here to make you comfortable. It's here to make you real. Closing this chapter. To receive the loyalty of a Scorpio is to be entrusted with something sacred, their energy, their time, their belief in your evolution. It is not just love. It is alignment. It is a bond that bends time, transcends form, and calls forth transformation. In the next part, we will explore how Scorpio's loyalty manifests in real life, in friendships, family, love, and leadership. Not just in poetic language, but in action. Because Scorpio's loyalty, though silent, is never passive. It is felt, lived, and proven over and over again. When you're ready, I'll continue with part 3, Loyalty in Action, how Scorpio protects and transforms others. Part 3, Loyalty in Action, how Scorpio protects and transforms others. In a world saturated with performance and appearances, Scorpio's loyalty is a rare, hidden jewel. You often won't see it announced. You won't hear it declared in grand gestures. But if you pay attention, if you know how to listen, you'll feel it in the way they move through the world, silently, fiercely, and with purpose. Scorpio loyalty is not about clinging. It's not about always being physically present. It's not about sweet words or promises. It's about spiritual protection, energetic presence, and emotional guardianship. They shield you without you knowing. Scorpios are not the type to announce they've defended your name. They don't ask for thanks when they've stood up for you behind closed doors. Their loyalty is like a cloak you didn't know you were wearing, but it kept the storm off your shoulders all along. They'll challenge people who gossip about you. They'll fight to keep your dignity intact even when you're not around. They'll absorb emotional blows that were never meant for them, just to spare you the pain. This is not loyalty that thrives on applause. It's loyalty rooted in spiritual service. The silent battles they fight for you. I once met a Scorpio therapist who worked with terminally ill patients. She never told them what to think, never promised false hope, but she sat with them, day after day, week after week, as they walked toward the end of life. Her patients didn't remember her words. They remembered her presence, the unshakable sense that she wasn't afraid of their pain, their anger, or their fear. She didn't flee. She didn't flinch. She stood witness. That is Scorpio loyalty in its most sacred form, being there when everyone else is gone. Loyalty as emotional alchemy. Scorpio's gift is not just to remain through difficulty, but to transform those around them through their unwavering presence. They don't just stay, they shift the atmosphere. Their loyalty isn't a wall, it's a crucible. Stand next to a Scorpio long enough, and you will start to change, not because they force you, but because they believe in the highest version of you, and they refuse to give up on it. That's their loyalty in action, holding you when you fall apart, calling you out when you abandon your potential, sitting beside you in silence when words would only bruise more. Scorpios don't coddle, they activate. The weight they carry without recognition. Many Scorpios carry emotional weight that isn't theirs. They inherit the grief of loved ones. They hold secrets that could shatter relationships. They carry unspoken burdens for people they care about, and they do it in silence. It's not weakness that makes them do this. It's a sense of duty, of spiritual guardianship, of knowing that not everyone is built to hold darkness, but they are. They may never say it, but Scorpio believes something sacred. If I can carry this for you, you don't have to fall. A real example, the friend who stayed when no one else did. A man once told me about his battle with depression after losing his child. Friends stopped calling. Family grew distant. Even his own spouse didn't know what to say. But one person showed up every week. A quiet, sharp-eyed Scorpio colleague who barely spoke. He didn't offer platitudes. He didn't try to fix anything. He just sat in silence beside him on the porch, sometimes for hours. One day, the grieving father asked him, "Why do you keep coming?" The Scorpio replied, "Because you're still here. And so am I." That's all. That's loyalty. The warrior within. Scorpio is ruled by two planets, Pluto, the lord of transformation, and Mars, the warrior. Their loyalty is both spiritual and strategic. They don't just feel, they act. They protect. They plan. They move when others freeze. If someone they love is threatened, their energy becomes a force of nature. Calculated, fierce, precise. They don't explode in fury, they strike with purpose. And when Scorpio stands in your corner, you are not merely supported, you are fortified. Why this loyalty can be scary. Many people find Scorpio loyalty too much. It's too intense, too intimate, too serious. But that's because they are used to love that's partial, friendships that are transactional, and support that has limits. Scorpio's loyalty shatters that model. It dares you to be real, to grow, to trust in something eternal. And that terrifies those who aren't ready for it. But for those who are, It's life-changing, the shadow side of loyalty. And yet, even Scorpio's loyalty has its limits. Push too far, betray too deeply, and the protector becomes the ghost. They do not stay where trust is desecrated. This doesn't make them cold. It makes them honorable. They do not offer loyalty where the soul contract has been burned. They simply disappear. And the absence of their energy is often more deafening than their presence ever was. What we can learn. Scorpio teaches us that loyalty is not just about staying. It's about becoming. Their loyalty holds you through change. It challenges you to rise. It carries you when you cannot move. In the spiritual path, we speak of the Kalyamita, the noble friend who walks beside you on the journey to awakening. That is Scorpio's essence. They don't lead or follow. They walk with you, into shadow, through fire, and into light. In part 4, we will dive into the betrayal boundary, how Scorpio handles broken trust, why they withdraw without a word, and how their memory becomes the gatekeeper of rebirth. Part 4, the sacred boundary, betrayal, memory, and Scorpio's path to rebirth. To be granted a Scorpio's loyalty is to be given a portion of their soul. It is not casual, nor reversible. It is not a favor, and certainly not a transaction. It is a spiritual investment. And like all sacred things, when that investment is violated, something irreversible occurs, a death of sorts. Betrayal to Scorpio is not just a mistake. It is a rupture in the fabric of trust and the cosmic order they uphold with unflinching intensity. The depth of their memory. Scorpios do not forget, not because they are vengeful, but because their memory is emotional, energetic, and cellular. The pain doesn't live in their mind. It lives in their body, in their bones, in the field of energy they've built around you. When betrayed, they don't always lash out. In fact, most of the time, they don't say a word. They simply disappear. And that absence? It echoes through your daily life, through your spirit, through the quiet realization that you will never again be held by something that pure. This is not punishment. It's truth enforcement. Why they leave without warning. You may wonder why Scorpio doesn't always confront betrayal head-on. Why they leave without explaining, without closure. Here's why. Because they already saw it coming. Scorpios are intuitive beyond measure. Often, they've sensed the fracture long before you acted. They gave you time. They observed. They waited for the truth to unfold. So when they walk away, it's not impulsive. It's ceremonial. It's the final chapter of a soul contract that your actions ended long before they did. The transformation after betrayal. But Scorpio's departure is not just about ending, it's about transformation. Their loyalty, when broken, doesn't die. It alchemizes. It returns inward. It becomes fuel for their own rebirth. Think of it like this. The same force that stood beside you in your darkest hour now becomes the fire that resurrects their own soul from your ashes. This is the true nature of Scorpio's power. They do not break. They evolve. A true story, when loyalty ended in silence. I once heard of a Scorpio woman named Lillian. She had been with her partner for 8 years. Through his depression, financial collapse, and infidelity, she stayed. Not out of weakness, but because she believed in his potential. But one day, he betrayed her in a way that stripped the foundation of their bond. Not through a dramatic act, but through a slow erosion of truth, trust, and dignity. She never screamed. She didn't beg. She just disappeared. And though he reached out, months later, trying to reconnect, she only replied with one sentence. You no longer have access to me. That was it. Because Scorpio's love, once betrayed, becomes holy silence. Why Scorpio's silence hurts so deeply. When Scorpio withdraws their energy, you feel it like gravity gone missing. It's not just their presence you lose, it's the protection, the truth mirror, the spiritual anchor. You realize then that their loyalty wasn't just emotional. It was existential. They weren't just with you. They were holding you, and you didn't know until they let go. Forgiveness and reconnection? Is it possible? Can you win back a Scorpio's loyalty? The answer is not simple. It's not about apology, it's about transformation. The only way back is through rebirth. Not theirs, but yours. You must become who they once believed you could be. Not through promises, but through action. Not for them, but from your soul. And even then, they may never return. Because their love was never about what you gave them. It was about what they saw in you, and whether that truth still lives. The Buddhist paradox of detachment and loyalty. In Buddhist teachings, we're reminded that attachment is the root of suffering. But loyalty is not attachment, not when it's pure. Scorpio teaches us that true loyalty comes with sacred detachment. They love you deeply, but they do not own you. And when the truth is broken, they release, not out of bitterness, but out of respect for the soul's integrity. They let go with reverence. Even their absence is an act of love, a final offering of truth. The resurrection archetype, from betrayal to power. Scorpio is not just a sign of loyalty. It is the sign of resurrection. From betrayal, they do not wither. They rise. Stronger, quieter, clearer. Their loyalty does not die in betrayal, it is redirected. It becomes a deeper loyalty to self, to truth, to purpose. They heal in shadows. They rebuild in silence. They emerge as phoenix, not bitter, but reborn. Final thought for this chapter. If you have ever been loved by a Scorpio, truly loved, and you lost that love, know this. You were touched by something eternal. And though it is gone in form, it may live forever in memory, in energy, in what it made you become. Because Scorpio's loyalty, even when ended, transforms you. And maybe that was the point all along. Part 5. Loyalty lived, real stories and timeless lessons from the Scorpio heart. So far, we've explored the spiritual foundations of Scorpio loyalty, how it is forged, how it endures, and how it transforms through betrayal. But to truly understand its power, we must witness it. Not in metaphor, not in mysticism, but in the quiet, raw stories of real people or people who could be you, me, or someone you once knew. This is where Scorpio's loyalty leaves the stars and enters our daily human struggle, where it becomes the fire in the coldest night, the silence that speaks louder than words, and the presence that saves you when nothing else can. Story 1. The Midnight Drive. Julian, a 38-year-old Scorpio EMT, was off duty when he got a call at 2:13 a.m. from a friend he hadn't seen in 5 years. The man had spiraled into addiction and was now stranded outside a hospital, too ashamed to go in. Julian didn't ask questions. He got in his car and drove 86 miles in the middle of the night. He didn't judge. He didn't moralize. He just sat beside his friend, got him checked in, and stayed until sunrise. When asked later why he did it, Julian replied, "I don't believe in conditional loyalty. You either show up when it matters, or you never did. That's Scorpio. They don't erase you because of your darkness. They enter it with you." Story 2. The Inheritance of Silence. Mei Lin was a Scorpio daughter in a traditional Asian household where emotional expression was rare. Her father, a stoic man, was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's. Her brothers drifted away, unable to handle the change. But Mei Lin stayed. She quietly learned how to cook all his favorite dishes from memory. She recorded his voice, his laugh, his stories, all without telling anyone. And when he no longer recognized her, she whispered into his ear each night, "Even if you forget me, I will never forget you." No one knew the extent of what she carried. No one saw the hours, the tears, the weight. But that's the thing about Scorpio loyalty. It doesn't seek to be seen. It chooses to be true. Story 3. The Secret Guardian. A fictional tale, but one that reflects a Scorpio truth. In a small town, a boy named Theo was bullied mercilessly. One day, a quiet girl named Sarah, a Scorpio, witnessed a brutal act but said nothing publicly. Instead, she found each bully's weakness, not to attack, but to redirect. She got them into different after-school programs, spoke privately with teachers, and even tutored one of them in silence. The bullying stopped. Theo never knew why. He thought the world had simply moved on. But 20 years later, he found out at a reunion. When he asked her why she never told him, she said, "Because it was never about credit. It was about peace." Scorpio protects without applause. They wield power not for control, but for redemption. Story 4. The Lover Who Let Go with Grace. Emily fell deeply in love with Marcus, a Scorpio musician. Their relationship was passionate, full of soul, but fractured by timing and trauma. She cheated during a moment of emotional weakness. Marcus found out. He didn't scream. He didn't shame. He simply packed her bags and said, "I will never love anyone like I loved you, but I will never love someone who betrayed that love." Then he held her hand for a moment, just one last time, and kissed her forehead goodbye. Years later, she said that moment taught her more about loyalty than any apology ever could. Scorpio teaches us that letting go can be the most loyal thing one can do when truth has been broken. Story 5. The Elder Who Never Forgot. In a Buddhist monastery in northern Thailand, an old Scorpio monk named Frachai had been caring for a small Bodhi tree since his youth. Every year, when the rains came, villagers would beg him to abandon the monastery and come to higher ground. But he stayed always. When asked why he refused to leave during floods, he said, This tree once sheltered me when I had no home. I made a promise, and I will not break it. To him, loyalty wasn't just for people. It was to place, to spirit, to memory. That is the soul of Scorpio loyalty. It stretches beyond logic, beyond time, even beyond death. Loyalty as a transformative force. What unites all these stories is not drama or flair. It is truth. A Scorpio's loyalty is not loud. It is lived, and those who receive it are never the same. Why? Because Scorpio loyalty is a spiritual current. It passes through you like a transmission. It awakens something. It challenges you to become worthy of it. It says, be better. Be honest. Don't abandon your soul. And even when Scorpio walks away, the echo of their loyalty continues to transform you. Closing this chapter. If you've ever wondered what loyalty looks like in real life, look for the ones who don't need to be thanked. The ones who show up, who say little, who protect without recognition, who leave when it's time, but always with reverence. Those are the Scorpios. They're not perfect, but they are sacred keepers of loyalty's highest form. Part 6. The evolution of loyalty, Scorpion, Eagle, and Phoenix. Scorpio is the only sign in the zodiac associated with 3 spiritual archetypes, each symbolizing a unique stage of soul evolution. And with each transformation, their loyalty deepens, purifies, and expands from instinct to insight to immortality. Scorpio does not stay stagnant. Their loyalty does not either. To understand the full spectrum of a Scorpio's commitment, you must journey through the 3 sacred forms they take. 1. The Scorpion, loyalty born of survival. The Scorpion is the most primal form, fiercely protective, reactive, and territorial. At this stage, loyalty is often based on emotional memory, shared pain, and deep bonds formed in shadow. Scorpions in this form are fiercely loyal to those who've earned their trust, unforgiving of betrayal, protective of their space and heart. Their loyalty is like a blade, quick to strike when danger arises. It's not vengeful. It's instinctual. They've been hurt before, and they remember. Loyalty here is survival. It is armor. It is the refusal to be wounded again. But this loyalty is still growing, still learning. It sometimes confuses intensity for intimacy and control for commitment. Yet it is real, raw, and sacred because it is the root of something far greater. 2. The Eagle, loyalty elevated through insight. The eagle rises above. It sees from great heights. From this form, Scorpio gains clarity. They no longer just feel deeply, they begin to understand deeply. This is the stage where Scorpio's loyalty becomes strategic, thoughtful, and soul-directed. Eagle Scorpios. Choose loyalty consciously, not just emotionally. Understand human weakness and forgive when it serves truth. Are no longer threatened by betrayal, they are informed by it. They do not attach blindly. They observe, discern, and protect what matters with calm precision. Their loyalty is now paired with wisdom, not just emotion. They know who they are. They know who you are. And their loyalty becomes a lens of truth, clear, sharp, incorruptible. 3. The Phoenix, loyalty transcended through transformation. Finally, we arrive at the most powerful form, the Phoenix. This is where Scorpio's loyalty becomes not just commitment, but cosmic devotion. It is no longer reactive or personal. It is divine. The Phoenix has been burned, betrayed, broken, shattered. But it rises not bitter, not hardened, but illuminated, reforged in purpose, pure in intention, compassionate without naivete. Phoenix Scorpios. Love without attachment. Let go without resentment. Remain loyal to soul, truth, and growth, even if it means walking away. Their loyalty becomes an energy that uplifts others. A sanctuary for the wounded, a fire for the stagnant, a resurrection for the lost. And even in solitude, they remain loyal to becoming, to sacred truth, and to the eternal bond of spirit that cannot be broken by time or trauma. Reflection. Which Scorpio are you meeting? When you encounter a Scorpio, ask not just, are they loyal? Ask, where in their evolution are they? Are they still guarding wounds as the Scorpion? Are they soaring as the eagle, seeing you clearly from above? Or are they rising as the Phoenix, radiant, purifying, transcendent? Each form offers a different experience of loyalty, and all are worthy. But it is the Phoenix whose loyalty transforms not just you, but your destiny. Personal story of Phoenix love. I once knew a Scorpio man who had every reason to be closed off. His past relationships had collapsed in betrayal. He'd been lied to, cheated on, abandoned. But he didn't harden. He transformed. When we spoke, I once asked how he could still be so open, so kind. He said, "Pain didn't kill my loyalty. It purified it. I no longer give it to people. I give it to souls." He had become the phoenix, and I will never forget the way his presence made others feel seen, safe, sovereign. Like standing in the presence of something holy. That's phoenix loyalty. You don't possess it. It possesses you. What we learn from these archetypes. The journey from Scorpion to Eagle to Phoenix is not linear. It is cyclical. Scorpios may return to the Scorpion when threatened, fly as the eagle when seeking clarity, and rise as the phoenix when the old has been burned away. Each stage teaches us a different kind of loyalty. The Scorpion teaches us protection. The eagle teaches us discernment. The phoenix teaches us transcendence. And together, they form the most complete expression of loyalty in the zodiac. Final thought for this chapter. Scorpio's loyalty is not one-dimensional. It is a living myth, a sacred evolution, a soul contract that grows stronger with each trial, each fire, and each rebirth. To receive it is an honor. To lose it is a lesson. To mirror it is a calling. Part 7. Soul Contracts and Karma. The energetic inheritance of Scorpio loyalty. Some people think loyalty is born from upbringing. Others say it's shaped by trauma or culture. But for Scorpio, loyalty is not learned. It's remembered. They don't become loyal. They reawaken to it, as if their soul never forgot. Because to a Scorpio, loyalty is karmic. It's ancestral. It's cosmic. And it echoes far beyond what the physical eye can see. The karmic ties that bind. In many spiritual traditions, particularly in Buddhism and Vedic astrology, we understand that some relationships are not random. They are karmic threads, unfinished lessons, sacred tasks, spiritual debts carried over from previous lives. Scorpio knows this, not always consciously, but energetically. When they feel a soul-level connection, they may not understand why. Only that it is real. And once that recognition happens, their loyalty becomes automatic, instinctual, and nearly unshakable. They do not love lightly because they remember you, even if you don't remember them. This is why their loyalty often defies logic. Why they stand beside people others abandoned. Why they hold faith in someone who hasn't yet found themselves. It's not naivety. It's recognition. The soul contract. Every Scorpio carries a sense of duty. A quiet knowing that they're here to protect, transform, or carry something sacred for others. Sometimes, they are born into families where they become the emotional backbone. Sometimes, they are drawn into relationships where they are the healer, the mirror, the guardian. And sometimes, they are pulled toward causes that awaken something ancient in them, like defenders of a forgotten truth. This is the soul contract. Not one made with words, but with energy. Not signed on paper, but etched into spirit. It is a silent agreement that says, I will stand with you. I will walk beside you. I will help you remember who you are. And Scorpios honor it with every fiber of their being. Inherited loyalty, ancestral echoes. Scorpio rules the 8th house in astrology, the realm of shared energy, death and rebirth, and ancestral inheritance. This means that Scorpio's loyalty often reflects the energy of their lineage. Sometimes they are the first in their bloodline to heal an ancient wound. Sometimes they carry the loyalty of a grandmother who stayed strong, or a warrior ancestor who kept a vow no matter the cost. Their loyalty is not just theirs. It is an echo. When a Scorpio says, I've got you, they are speaking with the power of generations behind them. And that's why their protection feels so timeless, so unshakable, so divine. Real story, the generational healer. A Scorpio woman named Zara was born into a family haunted by silence. Her mother had been abused. Her grandmother before her had also endured. No one talked about it. Until Zara did. She spoke. She named the pain. She broke the cycle. Not with revenge, but with presence. With care. With loyalty to a mother who didn't know how to be loved. She stayed through her mother's healing, through breakdowns, withdrawals, and years of emotional rebuilding. When asked why, she said, because someone had to stay. Someone had to remember that love doesn't run. That's Scorpio. They don't just stop trauma. They transform it, and their loyalty becomes the medicine of generations. Spiritual discernment and energetic boundaries. But here's the paradox. As much as Scorpio is karmically loyal, they are also masters of discernment. They can walk away from people they've loved for lifetimes. Not because they no longer care, but because they understand that loyalty to truth sometimes means releasing form. They are loyal to soul over attachment, growth over comfort, evolution over history. They can let you go in this lifetime, while still honoring what your connection taught them across all others. This is not abandonment. It is sacred release, loyalty to the unseen. Many Scorpios live with a deep sense of loyalty to something they cannot name. A cause, a mission, a purpose not yet revealed. They may be fiercely protective of someone who doesn't understand why, or commit to a creative project, an idea, or a calling that no one else sees, because in their soul, they already know its destiny. This is energetic loyalty, a vow made in another dimension, remembered now in the quiet moments of devotion and focus. They do not need applause. They do not need proof. They just know, and that is enough. The shadow of karmic loyalty. But not all karmic loyalty is healthy. And Scorpio, more than any other sign, must learn to let go of connections that have turned toxic. Just because a bond is karmic doesn't mean it's meant to last. Some connections are here to teach, to initiate, to awaken. And when the lesson is complete, Scorpio must evolve from devotion to discernment. This is when loyalty transforms into liberation, and Scorpio is reborn again. Closing reflection. To be loved by a Scorpio is to be seen across time. To be protected by a Scorpio is to be shielded by ancient forces. To lose a Scorpio's loyalty is not the end. It is a doorway to your own transformation. Because Scorpio doesn't just give you loyalty, they awaken it within you. Part 8. The Eternal Flame. Final reflections on Scorpio's loyalty. Some truths don't need to be shouted. Some love doesn't need to be explained. And some loyalty doesn't fade, even when everything else does. That is the loyalty of Scorpio. It is not for show. It is not for comfort. It is not for everyone. But for those who know, who felt it, it becomes something unforgettable. A flame, a force, a frequency of the soul, the legacy of loyalty. Scorpio's loyalty is not a personality trait. It is a legacy. It is the soul remembering a vow made long before this life. A vow to love fiercely, to protect what is sacred, and to never abandon what is true. It lives in silence. It fights in darkness. It endures in fire. And even when a Scorpio walks away, their energy never fully leaves. They may disappear in form, but their imprint remains in the soul. As a lesson, as a blessing, as a mirror. What Scorpio loyalty asks of you. Scorpio doesn't want your perfection. They want your authenticity. They don't need you to stay. They need you to stand for truth, for integrity, for something more than just emotion. To receive their loyalty is to be invited into a sacred fire. It will strip you, test you, transform you. But if you allow it, it will awaken a version of you that is more real, more whole, and more unshakably true than anything you've known before. Scorpio loyalty isn't safe. It's soul work. A final teaching from the Phoenix. In the end, Scorpio becomes what we all hope to be. A soul who has burned, broken, and still chooses to love. A heart that has been betrayed, but still chooses to protect. A being who remembers that even endings can be holy. That even silence can be sacred. That even after death, whether literal or symbolic, loyalty can rise again. As light, as healing, as a path back to the truth. To you, the listener, maybe you're a Scorpio, trying to understand why your loyalty is so fierce, so costly, so painful, yet so beautiful. Maybe you've loved a Scorpio and only now realize the depth of what you were given. Or maybe you're not either, but something in you longs to live more truly, to give your heart with more honor, to love not as the world teaches, but as the soul remembers. If that's you, then this was for you. Push pin subscribe to something deeper. If this journey has stirred something in your heart, if you felt seen, remembered, or moved by the truth in these words, then I invite you, truly and humbly, to subscribe to the path to Buddhist wisdom. This channel is not just about astrology. It's about awakening. It's for those who believe loyalty is a sacred act, who know that the zodiac is more than personality, it's soul language. Here we explore karma and destiny, love and loss, silence and truth, rebirth and becoming. Click subscribe, tap the bell icon and join a community of seekers, lovers, and protectors of what is real. Let's walk this path, not to escape life, but to honor it, to feel deeply, to love truthfully, and to live with the kind of loyalty that never dies. Fire final words. Scorpio's loyalty is not loud. It is eternal, and once you've felt it, you carry a piece of it forever. Hold it well.